Good day, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the 7-day International Faculty Development Program on Leadership Excellence. We request you to keep your audio muted and also stop your video. Thank you. Just a few announcements before we get started. During the session, if you have any questions, please post it in the chat box. It will be addressed towards the end of the session. Feedback form will be posted daily in the chat box towards the end of the session. Kindly fill up on all the 7 days to get the e-certificate. We request all the participants to kindly mute your video and your audio.
Rabia, you're able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Hello?
Okay, Rabia.
Hello.
So the final announcements before we get started with the session. Please mute your audio and also stop the video for the smooth conduct of the session. If you have any questions, type it in the chat box. We will be happy to answer towards the end of the session.
Firdaus ma'am?
Yes, I am here, Gayatri.
Ma'am, can we start? It's 5 o'clock.
Very well, you can go ahead, but my video is not visible.
No, it is seen. It is seen for us, ma'am. We can see it. We can see you, ma'am. We can very well see you.
Okay.
So we will start, Barkat ma'am. Please wait, Rabia. Barkat ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
We'll wait for 5 more minutes. Hello.
Ma'am.
5 minutes. 5 will start.
They'll keep joining us.
Gayatri.
Request the participants to kindly mute your video and your audio, please.
We'll start.
Yes, we'll start. Ma'am, Principal Ma'am, shall we start?
Yes, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Rabia,
Yes,
just a
ma'am.
second. Just a second, please.
Okay,
Can we
ma'am.
get the consent of the speaker to start, please? Sir, can we start, sir?
Vin Kumar, sir, can you start?
Naveen Kumar, sir?
Can you hear me? Please start.
Sir, can we start, sir?
Please.
Thank you. Rabia, please wait.
Okay, ma'am.
Good day and a very warm welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the 7-day International Faculty Development Program on Leadership Excellence. We, the Department of Corporate Secretaryship and Information Systems Management, Justice Bashir Ahmed Said College for Women, in association with Guru Coaching and Consulting Company, Doha, Qatar, are honored and privileged to host this 7-day International Faculty Development Program on the topic Leadership Excellence during this time of lockdown here in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. Every challenge comes with an opportunity. The staff of our department converted this challenge as an opportunity to connect with you all to spread across the globe through this faculty development program. This FDP is aimed at academicians with a view to enable the participants to learn leadership concepts, build specific skills, and practice mastery of those skills through experience shared by the eminent speakers. To begin today's session orderly, let us first invoke the presence of the Almighty. I now request Ms. Rabia of 2nd BCom Corporate Secretaryship to lead the prayer.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First 13 verses of Surah Ar-Rahman. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. Translation. I seek refuge with Allah from the accursed shaitan. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. The most merciful taught the Quran, created man and taught him eloquence. The sun and the moon move by precise calculation, and the stars and trees prostrate. And the heaven he raised and imposed the balance, that you not transgress within the balance. and establish weight in justice, and do not make deficient the balance. And the earth he laid out for the creatures. Therein is fruit and palm trees having sheets of date, and grain having husks and scented plants. So which of the favors of your Lord would you deny? God has spoken the truth. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Rabia. I
Thank you,
now
ma'am.
request Dr. Firdaus Jahan, Vice Principal, Justice Bashir Ahmed Said College for Women, afternoon session, to welcome the dignitaries and participants.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Good day to one and all. Distinguished delegates from throughout the world, eminent scholars, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure indeed to connect with you all. On behalf of the management, principal, and faculty members, it's my honor and privilege to welcome you to the International Faculty Development Program on Leadership Excellence, organized by the Department of Corporate Secretariat and Information Systems Management. Justice Bashir Ahmed Said College for Women, Chennai, in association with Guru Coaching and Consulting LLC, Doha, Qatar. As we are witnessing a global crisis, more than ever before, there is a transition required on the perception of leadership. This faculty development program is aimed at learning new patterns and style of leadership and good governance. In this context, we have with us Mr. Naveen Kumar Chandra, IIS, a leader in true spirit, to deliver the keynote address. He graduated from IIT Roorkee and is currently posted as Assistant Collector and Assistant Magistrate, Malda, West Bengal, India. He was instrumental in founding Project Magic to empower women in the North Bengal district of Malda and encourage them to have a better life away from society's backward mindset of child marriage. He has also been instrumental for a lot of prospective developments in his jurisdiction. He certainly has given back what he has learned. As he has started an academy called Malda Academy for UPSC aspirants to attend regular classes, thereby removing geographical barriers. We have understood that civil services has been his aspiration from childhood days, as he is executing his duties with great passion. IAS officers have busy schedules as they fulfill their duties in a bureaucratic system. Amidst strict duties, thank you for accepting to spend your valuable time, all of us, sir. I extend a warm welcome to our alma mater, Ms. Nirmala Guru, CEO, Guru Coaching and Consulting Company, Doha, Qatar. I also take this opportunity to welcome all the delegates and participants of this faculty development program. I congratulate the head of the department, Dr. Barkat, and the faculty members of Corporate Secretariat and Information Systems Management for organizing the International Faculty Development Program. I wish all of you a fruitful learning to work forward in establishing this new paradigm of leadership. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, with much honor, I hereby invite Dr. Shanaz Ahmed, Principal, Justice Bashir Ahmed Said College for Women, to present an inaugural address.
Thank you. In the name of the Almighty, the most beneficent, the most merciful, Islamic greetings of peace and mercy be upon all, and a very good evening to all. It gives me immense pleasure to meet you all from across the world through this virtual platform. The pandemic has brought everyone virtually close. We are able to easily connect across the world quickly and share information with ease. In other times, You know, the resource person should have started at least 2 days before the start of the program. And of course, we also must have received them at the airport, bringing them. So much of work we have to do it before the start of this such a session. And so thanks to technology, in fact, in the lighter sense, I would like to thank the pandemic even for bringing things so easy and to all. Fine. Okay. Each one of us, now coming to the topic that is leadership excellence. Now, when it comes to leadership, each one of us is a leader in the sense that we direct ourselves, we lead our responsible life. That is, whatever achievements we have, it is outcome of our leadership that brings in. Other than leading our own self, we also lead our families. But we as teachers, we have additional responsibility to lead the young generation. So the on us is immense. Hence, we as teachers must equip ourselves with the best of skills in order to create the leaders of tomorrow. So let us take an example of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. All of us know he is the father of India. The man himself, very small and fragile, but you know that he has inspired millions to follow him in the struggle for India's freedom. His life itself is a message of peace over power, finding amiable ways to reconcile differences, living in harmony with respect for each other, and be able to live even allow one's own enemy. It was these traits that predominantly fetched India her independence. We live in times where all these qualities should again be rekindled. It was this thought that made us frame a program on leadership. And the Department of Corporate Secretaryship of Justice Bashir Ahmed Said College for Women was one of the first departments to be established in college under the self-supporting programs in the year 1993. The department has grown from strength to strength with the establishment of the postgraduate program in 1996, the information and management system stream in 2001, and of course the research program MPhil in corporate secretaryship in 2013. The faculty of the department have always been trendsetters, and this program is one such initiative. And here I would like to appreciate the head of the department, Dr. Barkar, and the assistant head and organizer, Dr. Gayatri, and all the faculty members for their efforts in all activities taking the department further. And it is a proud moment to have our own alumna, Mrs. Nirmala Guru from Guru Coaching and Consulting, Doha, Qatar, on board this program collaborating with her department. The main objective of the faculty development program is to enable faculty to acquire leadership skill sets so that they may advance towards institutional goals. At the end of this FDP, I hope that the faculty will be able to direct themselves better to be assertive leaders, to be constructive and collaborative with others. With this hope, I wish the team all success for the smooth functioning of this 7-day FDP program on leadership excellence. Thank you, Vansana. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. To deliver the dynamics of the faculty development program, we are pleased to have Dr. Barkar, Head of the Department of Corporate Secretaryship and Information Systems Management. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Preeti. I quote Ronald Reagan, the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He's the one that gets the people to do the greatest things. I unquote. Assalamu alaikum and good day to one and all present here. It is my privilege to present the dynamics of this International Faculty Development Program on leadership excellence. Leadership is about mapping out where you need to go to win as a team or an organization. And it is dynamic, exciting, and inspiring. In this contest, we, the Department of Corporate Secretaryship and Information Systems Management, Justice Bashir Ahmad Syed College for Women, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India, in association with Guru Coaching and Consulting LLC, Doha, Qatar, schedule a 7-day international faculty program for extensive learning and understanding on leadership excellence. I would like to give you a preview of the session plans. The previous session will be chaired by Mr. Naveen Kumar Chandra, IAS, Assistant Collector and Assistant Magistrate, Malda, West Bengal, India. We look forward for his perspective of managing between intelligence quotients and the emotional intelligence in leadership. This would enable the educational institutions to equip the students to manage between intelligent quotient and emotional quotient. Engaged faculty members are critical to students' success as they are emotionally and psychologically committed to their work. To throw his insights, we are going to have Mr. Joshua Gerard, Chief Operating Officer at Tamil Nadu Advanced Technical Training Institute, serial entrepreneur, social activist, Chennai, India, on building team engagement to chair the day 2 session. Followed by Ms. Divya L.V. Jagasundaram, ICF coach, trainer, best-selling author and Canada for the 3rd day. She'll be enlightening us on the topic of the next generation leader, envisioning and engaging. We are certainly looking forward for tips from her to be agile and flexible in order to compete in the existing scenario. It is undoubtedly getting things from the horse's mouth. On day 4 of the FTP, Mr. Tariq Abdulaziz Al-Sada, Executive Director of Marketing and Communications, Qatar Free Zone Authority, Doha, Qatar, will take us through the topic of effective leadership during and post-pandemic. The session on leadership excellence in higher education, past, present, and future is scheduled on day 5 of the FTP. This plot will be directed by Dr. Kalinidhi Kale, leadership coach and OD consultant, best-selling author, Pune, India. We hope to listen to interesting comparison facts, and theories. Mr. Mark Lightflang Stone, personal impact coach, motivator, and social entrepreneur, founder Avenues, Shillong, Meghalaya, India, will provide us knowledge on how to reflect on your purpose as a leader on penultimate session. The final session in order on redefining leadership will be chaired by our alumna, Ms. Nirmala Guru, leadership and business coach and OD consultant, CEO, Guru Coaching and Consulting LLC, Doha, Qatar. We look forward to hear from her
Meghalaya, India, will
providing an exciting, stimulating perspective of leadership. On behalf of the Department of Corporate Secretaryship and Information Systems Management and Guru Coaching and Consulting LLC, Doha, Qatar, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you. I hope that this program would prove to be useful to faculty at large. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving right along, it's now my pleasure to hand over the session to our speaker for the day. Sir?
Can you guys hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
I'll begin with thanking the faculty at Justice Syed College for Women, Chennai. It's a brilliant initiative that has been taken. A great way to utilize and take this thing as an opportunity, and to invite me, it is an honor to speak in front of such an audience. It is an honor. I'm sure that I'll myself learn a lot from so many distinguished alumni of this institute and other distinguished members and invitees to this faculty development program. So my introduction has already been given, but briefly I'd say that I'm an IAS officer 2018 batch, right now posted in Malda. I've done my graduation in engineering. I would humbly request all of you to please put your audio and video on mute.
Request the participants to keep your audio muted, please.
Thank you so much. So yeah, the topic that I have been given is emotional quotient versus IQ, which is intelligence quotient, or like we talk emotional intelligence versus IQ. basically, first of all, you know, the system that we grow up in, the system that we are brought up in, which has the education system, the society as a whole, and all other dimensions, we rarely speak of emotional intelligence. Entire entire importance, entire uh, basically everything is about IQ. Everything is about your academics. Everything is about how good you are doing in your academics, how many marks you are scoring in your academics, what rank you are getting, what kind of college you are going in. Everything is judged by that. And very sadly, even leadership, which is core focus of this program, even leadership is sometimes seen as a trait or as a quality of someone who is very good academically or who has a very high IQ, when it is not so at all. See, first of all, before I go any further, I would like to present a very brief definition of what I understand by emotional intelligence. According to me, what I have seen, my little experience, emotional intelligence can be defined as being able to recognize and understand your own emotions, emotions of other people, and use them in a positive way. That is what emotional intelligence is. You first have to know and understand that, okay, this is the emotion that I am feeling right now, this is the emotion that this person is feeling. Secondly, you have to label it properly and you should be able to use it properly. This is what emotional intelligence is. So if you look at it, emotional intelligence is actually a very powerful tool. It is a tool which will let you use your IQ to its full capacity. It is a tool which will let you use the IQ and the skills of your colleagues, of your subordinates properly. And it is a tool which will make sure that all the skills, all the things that all the other people in your team bring to the table are utilized to the full.
Sir, excuse me.
Please.
Sorry for interrupting. So we're receiving in the chat box that your volume is very low. Can you do something about it, please?
Uh,
Yes, of course, volume is little low only, Preeti.
Yes, ma'am, I've informed them.
I mean, I am using the headphone. That's why. Is it better now?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes,
Is it
sir.
better?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
now it's better.
Someone from. Okay. Yeah. So I'll continue. So I was talking about the importance of emotional intelligence. IQ, although has been stressed a lot on, IQ has been raised to a pedestal where everything is about IQ, about marks, about how well someone does in academics. But IQ is only something which will take you to a certain level. It is only something which will matter. For example, let us take an example of a typical Indian student. IQ will matter only to the extent that he or she gets entry to a particular college. I might be very intelligent, I might have a very high IQ, and I will be benefiting from it only till that I get into, say, IIT. But that is the end use of a good IQ. After that, whatever happens to myself, whatever happens to my career, whatever change I'm able to bring, whatever things I'm able to achieve, most of it depends on the emotional intelligence of the person. IQ will only get you to a level where after which it has no use. You have to understand that IQ is only one of the tools which is there, available to you. It will take you to a place, but then from there on, the rest of your life, it is all about emotional intelligence, how well you use it to achieve what you want. While introducing me, an example was given about Project Magic, which girls in a rural area in coding. If you look at the area, if you look at the composition of the area, it is a rural area. It is a very conservative area. People have very conservative mindset. even, and then working in such a scenario and trying to do something which is very, very innovative, which is very new, people haven't heard about it. It requires a lot of persuasion, it requires a lot of talking, it requires a lot of emotional connect with the people, to show them, to basically sell them the idea, to convince them that this idea is something which is for you, for your own benefit. That thing cannot be done by IQ. Yes, in the design of the program, in the design of the idea, IQ will come in handy. But in the implementation of the idea, in getting people aboard, in getting things done, in getting your team motivated, it is everything about emotional intelligence. So this is some, in a practical scenario, on field, on ground level, when we are working, the role which emotional intelligence plays on everyday basis is much higher than the role which is played by IQ. I use my IQ or my intelligence. I mean, if I were to quantify it, maybe once or twice in a month. As a leader who commands a lot of subordinates, who command a huge amount of staff, who runs, at times IS officers, they run a district to ministries, and so if you are commanding a lot of people, it is emotional intelligence that you are using on a daily basis to get things done, to motivate your staff, to connect with them, and to get them on the same page as you are on, to show them that your vision is what is the right vision. So it has to be understood that IQ do important is not enough. Is not enough at all. We have to start focusing as much as on emotional intelligence in our school curriculums, in training of our teachers, in development of our leaders. We have to understand that without a good understanding of emotional intelligence and its concepts, we are only, we are not actually creating leaders. We are not creating leaders, but we are creating someone who might work for, and who might look for leaders. Basically, that is a huge issue, which I have seen on the ground also, which I have seen while I was studying at IIT also, which I have seen, in my training as an IS officer also. What happens is that we as a society, when we don't stress on emotional intelligence, let alone leadership. Leadership is a huge thing, let alone leadership. We will not be getting even good, responsible citizens. Because what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence allows you to understand emotions of not just yourself, but someone else, as in the person you are talking to. It will enable you to understand their emotion. It will enable you to have empathy. It will enable you to have certain social skills, which will allow you to better be a better human being. You will be able to understand the position the other person is in. You'll be able to empathize. So it will widen your mind. It will widen your perspective. It will give you a different perspective. So it is very important that emotional intelligence is made a part of our curriculums in schools. Let alone talking about leadership, it is very important that emotional intelligence becomes something of a revolution, that people take it not just stuff for leaders, but for a common man. Because otherwise, what happens, if we are restricting emotional intelligence to leaders, we might miss out on golden opportunity to have better citizens. It's Emotional intelligence will definitely make better leaders, but emotional intelligence is as important for everyone as it is for leaders. It is actually the task of people in some authority or some power to ensure that whatever I don't know, it's been muted again and again. Someone is. Yeah. So, hello.
Naveen sir, yours is not muted, sir. It's on.
So, yeah. So I was saying that all of us, for example, uh, civil servants, be it teachers, be it academicians, be it researchers, all of us are in a position of authority, in the sense that people listen to us. We have much more responsibility than other people, because we have a responsibility to shape generations of students who will then be the future of this country, right? And then they will also go on and teach the next generation. But the point is that this thing for some reason is taken very lightly, or and is taken something which is not important. That is, I mean, like I said at the start of the session, it is because the stress which has been given in our society towards things which are related to academic achievements like marks, for example, what rank I'm getting, everything is about that. Until and unless we understand that these things are only important to a certain level. I know so many great civil servants who are not great at academics, who are in college, who are not great at, they were not toppers of their colleges, they were not, toppers of the universities, but they made great leaders. It's not that you have to be a topper or you have to have a very high IQ to be a great leader. What does leadership mean? You have the best, and the simplest way I can define leadership is getting best out of the people. That is what leadership is. To get the best out of people who you are working with or who are working for you. To get the best out of them, how do you get the best out of them? You cannot get the best out of them by just shouting them around, by just showing authority. They might work for you for a couple of days because of fear, but they will never give their best. They will look at that one single opportunity when they can just run. They will look at this, they will be searching for that single window where they can push some excuse and run. But when they have a leader, a true leader, they will think that they are not working for him, but working with him. They will share the vision with the leader. They will be able to understand that what he's saying is not something, for his own good, but for the good of everyone. This, this quality of a good leader will never come if we continue laying stress on a high IQ. So, what I wanted to tell till now was that the way we are stressing in our educational system, in our all whatever courses that we have in any college for that matter, that it is everything is about IQ, everything is about marks. It's not at all the case. Be it by field experiences and be it my training experiences, I can say it very firmly and with quite some authority that emotional intelligence is far more important, not equally important. I will be very clear, it's far more important than IQ. IQ is a distant second. Emotional intelligence wins the race by a huge margin. Second, now that we have talked, I will like to get into some depth about emotional intelligence. I mean, what do we mean by emotional intelligence? What are its components and all? There are many scholars, if you'll research it, there are many scholars who have worked on emotional intelligence, but one scholar who's our contemporary in the sense that he's still working on it and he has been instrumental in making this concept very popular is Daniel Goleman. A few of his books, like Working with Emotional Intelligence are very famous. They've almost become, what do you call it, handbooks. Everyone has them. Everyone has them in their, libraries, and they're highly recommended. So Daniel Goleman defines that there are 5 key elements to emotional intelligence: the self-awareness, what he means by self-awareness is that you are aware about your own emotions and you are aware about the emotions of other people, that what kind of emotion they are having. You are able to identify that. That is self-aware. Secondly, second component is self-regulation, that you are aware, but you are also able to regulate your emotions. You are able to control them. You don't let emotions out of your hand. Third, he talks about motivation. Third element of emotional intelligence is motivation. Motivation is not just about motivating others, but motivating yourself. How do you do it? By being self-aware and regulating your emotions, you can motivate yourself. Four is empathy. Fourth is empathy. And what is empathy? Empathy is not sympathy. It is different. Empathy means that you put yourself in someone else's shoes and you are able to appreciate, you are able to connect with someone, and you are able to see things from their point of view. And last but not the least is social skills. It's not one skill, but a variety of skills. Social skills has many other components like understanding people, motivating them, right, pushing them, then leveraging diversity, as in appreciating diversity. Many social skills are there. These are key components of emotional intelligence which we must try and inculcate in not just ourselves but our staff, our colleagues, even at times our family members, whoever we talk to. We must understand that these components are very crucial to have a good uh, you know to become a good leader, basically, right? So now that we have talked about emotional intelligence, why it is important, why it is better than IQ, what are the components of emotional intelligence, I would also like to, because everything is about what is, because see, the times that we live in, everything is about basically what gives us results, right? Or why is it important in the sense, what benefits will I have if I focus more on emotional intelligence than IQ, right? So I would now like to talk about what are the benefits of emotional intelligence. If you focus more on emotional intelligence, what will be the benefits? See, to start with, if you have a higher EQ as an emotional quotient, if you focus more on emotional intelligence, you will be very much comfortable and much easier. It will be much easier for you to adjust at any workplace environment and
Janji.
lead new workers. It will be much easier for any leader to adjust with any kind of staff if you have a higher emotional intelligence. It secondly, it will be you'll be able to build a very productive atmosphere at any place where you work if you have more focus on emotional intelligence. All right. Third, you'll be able to have a team which will be working much better in coordination with each other. You'll have a better teamwork. You'll have a team which will work as a team, which will work as almost as a family. Fourth, every single member of the team will have greater self-awareness if you focus more on emotional intelligence than on IQ, because it is very important, even more so when you are working with a team than working as an individual, that focus is on self-awareness and self-regulation. Because when we are working as a team, our responsibility is it's not only to ourselves but to the entire team. We have to understand that our actions does not affect only us but everyone else around us. So it is very important that we focus on self-awareness of the group also, and emotional intelligence helps us in that. And last but not the least, you'll be you'll always be ahead of everyone else, because most of the people, like I said, are only focusing on emotional intelligence. Most of the people are only focusing on numbers, but emotional intelligence will give you that one additional tool where, focusing on emotional intelligence, you will be able to build a team in which people will be ready to even die for you. They will be ready to go to any extent to work for you, to get things done, and they'll be happy about it. They'll be passionate about it as much as you are. So that these are the benefits of focusing on emotional intelligence and investing in emotional intelligence. I can elaborate on this by giving you the same example. When I had gone to Malda, from a very urban area, I have all my life I've grown up in Delhi NCR, and I go to Malda, and I was posted there, and I started this project Magic. Most of the people most of the people there are very conservative. It is a very conservative area, and to sell them an idea where I was trying to teach coding to girl child, coding to women, where they're married very early at the age of 10, 12, they're married. It was very difficult for anyone to even think that they will allow their kids to attend classes after school on certain thing which they might not even know about. But how do you do it? This is where emotional intelligence comes into picture. I could have just signed an order and asked them or coerced them to attending classes. I could have just ordered them, but that was not done. I went there, I sat with them, I attended classes with them, I gave lectures myself. I, interacted with them on a daily basis for a couple of weeks. I know every single student personally, their names, their homes, their backgrounds. I made a WhatsApp group where I added everyone, and I used to take their queries. I appreciated their work. I used to send them compliments on WhatsApp group on the projects that they made. So all these things, when a leader, when a person in authority, which people might be even afraid to approach, thinking that okay, he's someone who's at an authority and will be fine even approaching them. If someone from there comes down to your level and sits with you on a regular basis, that's when people understand that okay, what he's trying to tell us is that he's with us. He is not directing us. He actually believes in this vision. He wants us to work for it, and his intentions are good, and his intentions are for for our own welfare. So this is something which you have to understand cannot be done by a high IQ. I mean, a high IQ might give you a very good program on paper, but to implement that program on field, you have to have a very high emotional intelligence. If not high emotional intelligence, we will have to understand that emotional intelligence plays a very important role in getting any thing done on the field. So I've given this example because a lot of people who are attending this session are teachers, and you are the people who shape the future of nations. I mean, you shape the nation's future by building students, by shaping their brains, by shaping their thought processes. And if you are able to make them understand that this is something which is as important as IQ, if you are able make them able you are able to understand and tell them that okay, you know what, when you read next time, just don't read for getting marks, but also read for gaining empathy for people. Also read for gaining perspectives. Also read for widening your horizons. That's when things will start to change, and that's when the emotional intelligence of masses, emotional intelligence of people will increase, and that is when we will actually start seeing the change. A lot of research has already been done available online, which says clearly a set of people who's only focused on IQ versus a set of people who's focused on IQ as well as EQ. Any day, the people who's focused on EQ, they win on even any parameter. The reason is this: the way our brain functions, the part of brains, for example, which are which function to for certain things like certain emotional intelligence. When we have certain emotions in our brain, the part of the brain which lights up is also the part of the brain which functions when we start learning new things. So when we train ourselves emotionally, we are also training ourselves better in learning new things. So by working on emotional intelligence, we are actually also working on our IQ. You have to understand that it is very important. It is very important that certain as a common man, as a human, basically, we are able to appreciate uh, emotions of fellow human beings. And sadly, the system of education, the system, I mean, not just in India, across all over, has for some reason neglected this. But it is time that we start investing our time, investing our resources in this direction. And that's why I would like to say that teachers have probably the biggest role in it. When the classes they take starts being more about emotional intelligence than intelligence quotient, that's when we will start having the change that we want. That's when we will start having responsible citizenry. That's when we will start having great leaders. That's when we will start having people who are ready to take initiative, and that's when we will start having people who are ready to change, not I didn't just change things but change themselves. So this is this is all that I wanted to talk about, and there is a lot more that can be said on this topic. Uh, there is a lot which is available online also. I would request all of you who are present to go and read more on this topic. For my personal experience, I cannot stress more on the benefits that I have reaped of being emotionally aware, of having invested before in my own emotional intelligence, the benefits that I have reaped. Take this session itself, for example. This session is, I'm very honored to have been invited to this session, but a lot of people tell me that, how do you find time and to do these kind of sessions? I mean, the reason is very simple. knowing something and keeping it to myself is waste, right? I mean, I know something which I feel that can benefit other people, so I should be telling it to other people. This is what emotional intelligence is. I mean, I can just keep the knowledge to myself and try to think that okay, I'll be someone who will be different. I'll be someone with some additional information. That is not the case. Like that is not how anything works and anything's supposed to work. So I would request all of you to read more on this topic. I will leave my mail ID with the organizers and my phone number also. You can message me, reach out to me, and on my mail and ask me whatever doubt you have. I would be very, very happy to respond back and clear anything that you might want to ask. Uh, in the end, I would like to say this, that it is very, very easy for us as a society to focus on IQ and to focus on marks. It is very easy. It is very tough to focus on emotional intelligence and to invest on emotional intelligence, but no thing which was good ever came easy. No thing which was worth it ever came easy. So we have to understand it might be tough, but it is worth it, and it is very, very important to understand to do it right now. Now is the time for us to invest in emotional intelligence. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for listening to me. It has been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the importance of the components of emotional intelligence and intelligent quotient. And more so, we appreciate you for all your services towards empowering women. We also wish you more magic to happen in your project magic. So we will go ahead take some of the questions that we have received in the chat box.
Please.
Gayatri, ma'am.
Sir, there's one question from Priyadarshini, and she asks, suppose if a member in a group doesn't interact and give his or her fullest, what can we do as a leader in a positive way?
So, and the name
Priyadarshini.
Thank you, Priyadarshini, for the question. It is a very good question, and it is something which I guess all of us have faced at some point of time, or do face as leaders. Because when you work with a team, we have to understand that the personality of each and every member of a team is different. The way people interact is different. The level of confidence the people have is different. So if someone is not interacting, you will have, first thing that has to be done by a leader in such a scenario is to accept the fact that it is quite possible that I have made him uncomfortable. The way we function as leaders is we have very high egos. We think that if a member of our team is not performing, is not listening, it is his fault. I don't know why he's doing this. I don't know. I've done everything nicely. I don't know why everyone is doing it, but why he's not doing it. It is quite possible that it is us who have made him uncomfortable, or it is us who has not created an atmosphere in which he'll be able to come out, and talk to us. So first of all, address and try to see if that is the case. If that is not the case, then the second thing is that don't ever bring people in between you and any of your team members. Be directly accessible. Go and talk to the member. Go and talk to that person and try to understand their perspective. Try to understand the problem that they have. You have to understand that until and unless you are personally available to the members of your team, until and unless they know that they can confide in you, they know that they can tell their problems to you and you will keep it to yourself and try to help them, they will not have the confidence. And certain people, if they have problems which they feel are very private, it is very tough to have confidence in any new leader or any person of authority. It is very, very difficult. It is very difficult for them to just approach someone. For example, if I'm an IS officer and posted as assistant collector, for a clerk to in my department to think that he'll be able to just walk into my office and tell his personal problem, it is very difficult for him to even imagine that. But if I have made it a point that anyone can come into my office at any point of time and I will be available and I will be willing to listen, that's when people will start coming and sharing their problem. So I hope, Priya, you got your answer. I hope it was helpful. Thank you. So
Sir, the second question comes from Lavanya. Lavanya asks how to overcome politics that is always there in a team.
Right. See, thank you very much, Lavanya, for the question. It is a very important and very good question. See, the very basic of human tendency is to form groups. The very basic of human tendency is to form smaller groups of people which we feel have a similar interest, people who we feel or have similar insecurities. It is very basic of it, right? So it is almost impossible. Let me very frankly tell you, let me very frank and tell you that it is very almost impossible to have and to say that there are no subgroups in my team, or there is no politics which happens in my team. That is not possible. But what is possible, that how you will not allow that politics to hamper your work, to hamper the work of your team, to hamper how you will not allow that politics to come in way of you doing what the core task of your team is. That is important. That can be done by making it very clear that I am not against you forming small groups. Because if you are kind of a leader where you go one day and you say, I am here to destroy all the social structure, all the traditional ways of functioning of a group, and then expect that people will accept you as a good leader, it will never happen. It will never happen, because a lot of change at once is never welcome, and it should never be done also. So when you go as a leader to a new group, the very first thing that you have to understand is, make it clear that you are not there to break all the existing social structures of that or social dynamics of that. You accept them, you embrace them, but also at the same time make it clear the fact that I am embracing them, the fact that I am allowing it, you must have to understand that it should not come in the way of the work that we are going to do here. That is the topmost priority. If you are not affecting any of our work, I don't care about the politics. I don't care about what you do. If you're not affecting the well-being of other members, I don't care about your politics. If you're not affecting the dynamics of the rest of the team, I don't care about your politics. But if these three things, any of these three things are affected, then you will have to take the second step, which is setting an example. You will have to set an example and present it in such a way that people get a signal that, okay, being very liberal, being very understanding, like allowing us our space, but even after then, if we are not going to focus on the work, let the team function, let the team develop, this guy or this person is also willing to take a step which is strict. The strict step, the harsh step, is not the first step that you have to take. That is the fourth or the fifth step. And only then it looks like a very generous step. When you punish someone after giving them 4 or 5 different ways of correcting themselves and giving them space, then they understand that, okay, this guy is not here to punish us. This guy is here to maybe change us for the better. Thank you.
So there's another question from Dr. R. Manohar. He asks, in your career, have you at any point of time felt that application of EQ doesn't work as per your expectations, although you are trying to apply EQ?
Thank you so much, Doctor, for the question. See, like I said, EQ is very important. EQ is very important in the sense that I think Doctor has, it's a very good question, but I would like to tell him that, EQ is also a tool. There is no such tool which has ever been made which has 100% result. Right? I mean, you cannot expect anything to work all the time. I mean, I cannot expect that I apply EQ and I will definitely get a result all the time. But yes, EQ has a much higher chance of getting me a result than just applying rules blindly, following regulations without any, application of the mind, just screaming around as a leader, ordering people to do things. All of these things, do get results, but they're very short-lived. So EQ might not get you a result every now and then, but EQ will definitely get you a result in much wider areas and much different sets of scenarios.
So there's a question from one Ms. Prija Sridhar. She asks, if you don't think schools should have a subject of EI so that we can create emotionally strong individuals?
Absolutely. There are no two ways about it. That it is high time that emotional intelligence is made a subject in school, because like I said, emotional intelligence is not something which is only good and which is only important for leaders. It is important for us, for making a responsible citizenry. I mean, if I, for an example, am not aware and not respect someone else's opinions, I mean, we see it, right? People just are not able to digest that someone else can, even have a different opinion than me. So, if we do have a subject which deals with certain things, which makes people to understand that, okay, there is a possibility that people will not agree with me. People might have different, reasons, different, beliefs, and it is fine. I mean, no one is telling me what to believe. Why should I expect anyone else to follow my set of beliefs? So this is very important that it is made a subject. It is very important, and I will definitely try to start, something like this wherever I am posted. So yes,
Sir, thank you. And there's one from Miss Dr. Mala Reddy, Assistant Professor. She asks how to respond to life's toughest issues with spiritual intelligence. Can you throw some light on that, sir?
sorry, I didn't get the question. I'm really sorry.
She's asked how to respond to life's toughest issues with spiritual intelligence.
Okay. Thank you, Maraji, for the question. See, I'll be very frank and I'll be very honest. I am personally not a very spiritual person, in the sense that I am a very, I am a person who is much more into science and much more into rationality, and I try to figure out my answers through science. But I am also a person who respects spiritual intelligence. I am also a person who respects that there are domains which I am not aware about. There are fields which I have no knowledge about, or which I would like to learn more. I have talked today about emotional intelligence. It should not be confused with spiritual intelligence or spiritual, spiritualism to that matter. Emotional intelligence is something which is there in your brain, and it is a science. And there are set patterns which can be taught. It can be learned. Emotional intelligence can be increased. Person is not born with a set emotional intelligence, but emotional intelligence is inculcated as you grow up. It can be taught. So you can respond to the toughest situation in your life if you have a good emotional intelligence also. You can respond to the toughest situation of your life if you know, if you are aware that, what, I am down now, or this is where I'm facing. A lot of people I know with low emotional intelligence, they refuse to even recognize that they have a problem. That is a sign of a very low emotional intelligence. That if there is a person who says that, what, there is no way I have a problem, that is a sign of a low emotional intelligence. If someone is trained in emotional intelligence, they would accept that, okay, I have a problem, that, okay, this is the time for me to reevaluate, to sit and to understand how this problem happened, why this problem is the way it is right now, and what are the possible solutions. So yes, with higher emotional intelligence, you will get these tools, you will get the ability to find answers to your problems. Even in the toughest situations, you will be able to find, or at least you will have the ability to find answers to those questions.
Thank you, sir. Can
Sir,
we take
one last question. This is the last question by Dr. G. Balu. He asks, what is your advice to the student community in the present pandemic situation?
Right. Thank you for the question. Like everyone else, the first thing that I would like to advise everyone is to be safe. Don't take the pandemic very lightly. I mean, that is the biggest thing, that is, and the most important thing, because if we put ourselves at risk, we are also putting everyone else at risk. That is the first thing. The second thing is, I know personally, I understand that this is a very tough situation, especially for students being stuck at home, being stuck indoors, not able to go to the college, not able to, experience that life, and, being just suddenly cut off is very tough. And it is hampering mental health also, a lot of people. You have to understand that is this thing has to be converted and taken as an opportunity and converted in an opportunity. It is very important that, there were so many skills that he wanted, there were so many books that he wanted to do, there were so many things that he always wanted to do, on your laptop. I mean, I know so many people who always wanted to take some of the other course, some of the other language they wanted to learn. They wanted to, read so many books. Take this thing as an opportunity and finish those things. take this thing as an opportunity and bring something positive out of it. That will be my advice to students. You should be able to say, and you should be able to tell yourself and others tomorrow that when the pandemic hit, I was someone who was converting that pandemic into an opportunity for myself, and I came out as a much more learned and as a much more grown person out of the pandemic.
Thank you, sir. There's one person who would like to talk something. I'm unmuting him, Mr. Ram Babu.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Naveen Kumar. It was a wonderful presentation. This is Ram calling from Doha, Qatar. I just would like to ask the same question of these IQ and EQ under a typical corporate scenario, because you have been now talking about the students and the teaching community. Just I would like to have your expert comments how that can help on a practical corporate work culture. Of course, this is everywhere. Human being means the teamwork, team leader, the setup is the same. So I would like to hear from you some tips how this EQ can be helpful when you're dealing with the board of directors and your team. Typical scenario. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ramabu, for the question. Thank you so much. So, like you said in the question itself, that in the end, humans remain the same. In the end, the setup remains the same. It is all about teamwork and dynamics. Most of those things remain the same. See, I have not personally worked in the corporate, but I have seen a lot of people. I know a lot of people who work in the corporate, and I interact with them almost on a daily basis. My wife is from corporate. She was working with Microsoft. So I've seen it, corporate life. So the first thing that I would like to tell you is, it is very important as a leader in corporate world also that you have, number one, that empathy. It's very important, because I know so many people have told me this. They're just afraid to approach their leaders. They're just afraid to approach their team lead, for example. They're just afraid to approach the leaders of their organization or their unit or wherever they are working. They're just afraid to approach. They feel that they are just too big for them. This image, which is there in the corporate sector, has to go. Otherwise, what happens is you are not passing down those leadership qualities. You're not passing down. You'll always be looking externally to bring in new leaders. You'll not be nurturing leaders in your own corporation. You'll not be nurturing leaders in your own corporation. You'll be looking for leaders to come in from external sources, from somewhere out, and just take over. That person will not be aware about the culture of your company. That person will not be aware about how your company works, what are your priorities, what are your vision. But someone who's from your corporation, who you have nurtured as a leader, and he will be a much better person to lead a company or your corporate. But how does it happen? It happens when you have a higher emotional intelligence, and the leaders have a higher emotional intelligence. They are willing to listen. They're willing to pass down their knowledge. They are open to criticism. They are open to feedback. That is when it happens. So in a corporate setup, which I have seen from my limited experience, this thing is missing. So that is why we see a CEO is brought from some other company. A CTO is brought from other companies. This is what generally happens. But traditionally, it is always better to have someone grow in the same company and reach to the top. That is when he embodies the values of the company. That is when person will see that, okay, this person has the authority to ask, or to ask me to do certain things. That is when person will feel that, okay, he is actually a leader. He is the face of the company, right? So I hope that I was able to do some justice to your question. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for so patiently taking up all our questions. Thank you. So I think we're coming towards the end of the session. We'll wind up with the question and answer session. And may I request Ms. Sajida Parveen, Assistant Professor, Department of Corporate Secretaryship and Information Systems Management, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Preeti. Assalamu alaikum and good day to one and all present here. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. First of all, I thank the Almighty God for having showered His blessings upon all of us. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our speaker for the day, Mr. Naveen Kumar Chandra, IAS, Assistant Collector and Assistant Magistrate, Malda, West Bengal, for spending his valuable time with us. Sir, your session was very informative and inspiring. It helped us to learn more about intelligence quotient and how EI is important for not just leaders but also for all individuals. Thank you, sir. I also thank you for your patient answers to all the questions from our participants. I take this opportunity to thank the management, principal, Dr. Shahnaz Ahmed, and Vice Principal Dr. Firdous Jahan for the constant support and encouragement in all our endeavors. I extend my gratitude to Dr. Barakat, Head, Department of Corporate Secretaryship and Information Systems Management, and Dr. Gayatri, Assistant Head, Department of Corporate Secretaryship and Information Systems Management, without whose efforts, guidance, and support we would not have been able to carry out this huge event. My thanks are due to Ms. Nirmala Guru, Leadership Coach and Organizational Development Consultant, Guru Coaching and Consulting LLC, Doha, Qatar, who accepted our offer to partner with the Department of Corporate Secretaryship and Information Systems Management, Justice Bashir Ahmed Said College for Women, to host the 7 Days International Faculty Development Program on Leadership Excellence. I extend my thanks to all my fellow faculty members of the Department of Corporate Secretaryship and Information Systems Management for playing an active role in the successful implementation of the program. Last but not the least, I thank the participants who showed an overwhelming response to our invitation and made the program a grand success. I thank each one of you for your lively participation and interaction. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sajita. For the participants' notice, we have posted the feedback link in the chat box. We request you to fill the feedback form, and the feedback form will be kept open for the next 20 minutes. Thank you all for the active participation. And we also request you to join the Telegram link for getting the updates and latest announcements from our side. You would have received the Telegram link through the mail that we have sent you. Thank you all so much for the active participation. Stay safe, stay fit. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
We request the participants to kindly fill up the feedback form that is posted in the chat box. We request you to fill the feedback form for all the 7 days to get the e-certificate. Please follow us on the Telegram link that we have sent you through the mail that you would have received along with the invitation.
Tomorrow also the program will begin sharp at 5. So please ensure you are there inside by 4:55.
We request you to have your hands free so that to get the better audibility.
Okay, thank you all. We are ending the meeting. I think all of you have received your feedback forms. So we are ending the meeting. Yes, Nirmala ma'am, I think meeting they have all.
Preeti ma'am, you announced that Telegram link is also posted in the chat box. Those want to join, they can join. Okay, I'm just posting the Telegram link.